What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Goblin, and today I'm coming in with a story time slash announcement. I don't really know how to kick off this video or what to call it, so we're just gonna dive right into it. But before I get into that, I'd like to mention a couple things. First off, check out the thumbnail designer in the description below and subscribe to them. Show them some love for helping me out with this video. Really do appreciate it. It does help me get uploads. And also, I would like to sincerely apologize for being inactive and not uploading, but this video will explain where I've been and why. So, rehab. Yeah, I mean, I just got out of rehab literally maybe 4 hours ago. I haven't been home very long, not even three hours ago I got home. And, it was quite the experience. So I'm going to break this up into a 5-part story, and each part will be for a day I was there, because I spent 5 days in inpatient rehab, and it was interesting. It was a really, really interesting experience, to say the least. I got some funny stories. I got some crazy stories. I got a lot of shit. I saw some shit in there, man. It was wacky. So I'm not going to dive into what got me sent there. That's more of a personal thing. I'm not really going to dive into that, but I'm going to go into everything after that, every detail I can share with you guys. So I'm sitting here in the ambulance, all right? We're on the way to this rehab center. I just got out of the ER, right? It's lit. I'm over here. I'm like, okay, finna go to rehab. Let's just see how it goes. The two paramedics are pretty cool. They're talking to me. They're like, hey, what's good? I think one of the names is Johnny or whatever, and he was this Asian dude who he was just the most stereotypical American Asian man you could ever see, dude. He was just talking about eating burgers and how much he loves steak and shit. If you just picture Japan's image of America, this is your guy. This guy, this is the man. And then there was another dude, I don't remember his name. He wasn't as memorable, but he was pretty cool too. And, the ambulance pulled up to the rehab center, and they had to wheel me in on a stretcher. I couldn't even walk. I was still in my hospital gowns. They took me straight from the ER to the rehab center. So I was like, fuck. So they admitted me, and the first thing they did is they took me into this little room and sat me down and just asked me a bunch of questions about why I'm there, what problems I have, what mental problems I have, if I've had suicidal thoughts or angry thoughts or homicidal thoughts, what drugs I've done, and just a whole array and bombardment of questions. And I'm still here. I'm still out of it. I'm so confused. I'm how did I even end up here? Because 2 hours prior, I was walking through my neighborhood, doing nothing wrong, right? And I'm not going to dive into that, but anyways, so I get out of that little interview room, and I'm in this depressing ass hallway. Literally, the rehab center I was at was the most depressing place ever. The entire building, they call it the unit, the adolescent unit that I was put in. It was just a big hallway with a bunch of doors, and then at the end they had a couple conference rooms that they had group therapy sessions in, or different forms of coping skills and therapy that they had every hour. And otherwise it was just a big hallway with doors, and they didn't let us have shit. We couldn't have cologne. We couldn't have literally any way you could think of harming yourself. They already thought of, and they said, no boy, they fucked my shit up, man. They didn't even give me Q-tips in there. Do you know how crusty my shit was, man? That was some bullshit. But anyways, so I'm getting out of this room, and, I'm sitting there for a little bit waiting for them to give me a room, because I don't everyone's assigned a room, and, some people have roommates, some people have rooms on their own. It depends on, what they're dealing with and their conditions and stuff like that. So I was put in a room alone on my first day, which, I thought was a good thing, but, it turned out not to be. I actually got a roommate later on, and I was pretty happy I did, because it got mind-numbingly boring, because, the only thing you can do in this place is just read books. You either stare at a wall or you read books, and, that's basically all you can do. And they have a selection of 20 books that aren't Geronimo Stilton. It's fucking terrible. So, I'm sitting here, and they finally showed me to my room, right? And it's the first day. It's around 3 p.m. when I got there, and I'm real pissed off. I'm sitting there. I'm fuck this place, wow, this fucking sucks. I'm looking at my surroundings. I'm just sitting in this room on this hard bed, just horrible scenario. And for the first 24 hours you're in there, you're on something called unit precautions, which is basically you can't leave the unit for any reason. If you're off unit and you behave well, you're allowed to go outside for gym sometimes, and you're allowed to go to the cafeteria to get your food. But if you're on unit, no, you're eating your food in your room, you're doing your crocodile in your room, and you're crack. Just kidding, there was no drugs in there, but you know what I mean. You're on lockdown, you're fucked, right? So I knew nobody in here, literally nobody. And one of the first things I noticed is this kid like walking back and forth, like pacing through the halls, mumbling. And like I was like, okay, this really about to be some movie shit. I wasn't ready for this. Like, this is not what I pictured rehab as. I pictured rehab as like Dr. Drew's rehab, where they sitting there on like in a mansion by like a pool in like California, and like they all got their like, you know, they're like real nice like summer attire on, and they're just laughing and talking about how like casually they hate drugs and all that shit. But no, this was awful. This was not rehabilitation. Excuse me. This was just pain. So this man's walking around muttering, and I kind of stick my head out the door because I'm trying to figure out what this man's on about. And you know, you guys will hear about this guy quite a bit through these stories, but yeah, I just couldn't figure out what this dude was on about. And then I got yelled at for leaning out of my door because apparently everyone's just Hitler. You can't, no freedom. Like literally, I kid you not, they would take off people's bathroom doors. Like if you behaved poorly, they'd take off your bathroom door. They didn't even have a door. It was like this little plastic thing that you had to like Velcro shut. It was stupid, dude. It was some bull. They gave you no freedom. So, you know, I was sitting there in my room for a little bit, and I got called out for my first group therapy session. So I was like, okay, whatever. So I go to this group therapy session, and it's just a bunch of random people. Like, it's like people I've never seen before in my life. And even though they're supposedly all from around me, I've never seen these people. And, you know, they separate it into 3 different groups. There's blue, purple, and red. Red is the druggies and the angry kids, which I was in. Blue is middle schoolers, I think. And purple is like mental disorders like depression or like anxiety or stuff like that. Like, you know, basically anyone who had like suicidal thoughts or attempted suicide is in purple, and all the kids who do drugs are in red, and all the middle schoolers are in blue. I don't know why the fuck they categorize it with like, you know, middle schoolers and then all the other mental disorders, but then there's just middle schoolers. Like I don't know why the fuck they do that. That's kind of stupid, but either way. So, you know, I go to my first group, and there's this kid in there. All right, we're gonna call him Johnny. Johnny loves Jesus, to say the least, and I have no problem with religion, but Johnny loves Jesus a little too much, all right? This man's getting freaky with it. He got the Bible with him everywhere he goes. He's like reciting verses off the top of his head. I remember one time I made a comment about like someone's mom, and he was talking about how like the fruit of my tongue is what will kill me or some shit, like just crazy shit. Like this guy literally, he told me, like in group, he told me personally his reason for being in rehab is because he was sent by God as a missionary to help the people who need it most, aka the people in rehab. So this was literally like the first kid I met, and I didn't know anyone else in there, so I didn't know if this guy was like normal. I didn't know was like, is this what I expect here? Like I don't really know. So I was kind of blown away. I was like, oh my God, this guy's crazy as shit. Like, oh my Lord. So, you know, I tried to play it cool, and he offered me his Bible, which, you know, was pretty generous, but I'm not a religious person, but I took it because it seemed like if you went against religion, this guy would get pretty pissed off. And later on, I did learn that he would. So I took the Bible, and you know, after that group, it was already like 6 o'clock in the afternoon, and I just like went back to my room and went to sleep. I didn't really do anything else, and I didn't like, I kind of flipped through his Bible. I just flipped through the pages. This man's had something highlighted or written on almost every page. I was in shock. If you guys don't know what the Bible is, or like what it looks like, or like how long it is, that's crazy. The Bible's big as shit, and this man had marks on almost every page. So I was like, oh my God, like this man really not playing, dude. Like literally, this guy crazy. So I was like, whatever, you know. I went to sleep, and you know, I didn't really fall asleep at first. And I didn't fall asleep not because I wasn't tired, but because Johnny was back at it. Back at it again. He swung by my door, leaned in, and wanted to know if I'd read his Bible yet. Now, he'd given it to me literally maybe like 30 minutes prior, and he's already coming in asking me if I've read it yet, and he's asking me for like favorite quotes and shit. I'm like, oh God, this guy really ain't playing. He finna fuck my ass up. He's gonna whip some holy water on my shit if I don't read this. So I was like, okay. I just kind of told him, oh yeah, I'm about to start it, and then he just walked away, and then I heard him getting yelled at, and then I heard him like muttering something about, I don't know, Jesus or some shit, and then he walked back to his room, and I just kind of laid down and went to sleep. It wasn't the most eventful day, but it was a day. So that is day one, and believe me, these will get much more eventful, to say the least, as they go, as I got more comfortable with my surroundings. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Drop a like on this video, and yeah, I mean, hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to check out the thumbnail designer in the description below, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.